Namaste. This is David Hawthorne at astroview.com. Today's the 24th of December 2018. The following is the Vedic astrology reading for President George H.W. Bush, based on the 12th of June, 1924, at 10:30 a.m. in Milton, Massachusetts. I think there's a couple of other times floating around for him, like 11:20. It also gives the Leo rising sign. This comes from some biography, so it may be a little suspect in terms of the time. The reason I went with this 10:30 time was because it gives a rising sign of 3 degrees. And if you look at the transit recently, Rahu and Ketu have been at 3 degrees. Whenever Rahu and Ketu are on what we call most effective point, the rising sign degree, they cause serious trouble. In this case, they would be afflicting 6 of the 12 houses, including this 12th house, which is end of life, the 2nd house, which would be discontinuation of family life, the 4th house of home life, the 6th house of health, 8th house of death-like experiences, and the 10th house of karma. Rahu and Ketu aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away. So whenever they're in even signs, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, right now they're in 4 and 10, then they can reach out by conjunction or aspect any planet in the even signs. They stay in even signs for 18 months, and then they go into odd signs for 18 months. So this would trigger the loss of life at this particular time. Now we see that if we looked east on the horizon at the time of his birth, the 5th sign of the zodiac was ascending or rising. And this is Simha Lagna, Leo rising. It is a royal sign. It's the only rising sign of the 12 rising signs from Aries around through to Taurus. From Aries around through to Pisces. It's the only rising sign that is ruled by the royal sun. And sun is the king of the planetary cabinet. So Leo-born persons are typically leaders, not followers. They take their own decisions. Sun ruling the chart has gone into the favorable 10th house, the house of karma, career, and professional life. So Sun is the king. It's leader in the house of career. So it's president, it's government. Now, Rahu in the 1st house gives charisma, fame, fortune, energy, and ambition. But it can also cause some calamities from time to time. Moon in the 2nd house made him very gentle, gave him sweet speech. He always had very comforting speech. It also gave some status, even connected with foreign lands. Moon rules the 12th house of foreign lands. It's in the house of wealth and status. Saturn in the 3rd house is exalted. We don't mind retrograde planets at the time of birth. Saturn and Jupiter and Venus are all retrograde. But retrograde planets have no impact in the birth chart, only in the transit chart you will notice. So this is an exalted Saturn, which gives longevity of life. Saturn is Ayush Karaka, so it gives longevity of life. But Saturn also rules the 7th house, the 11th sign Aquarius, or Kumbh. It's the house of marriage, so this also gives long marriage. He was married for 73 years. This also gives some successful ventures, working for the poor and the needy and the elderly and those with afflictions or handicaps. In the 4th house, the 8th sign Scorpio, is Jupiter at 21 degrees, 23 minutes in Scorpio. So Jupiter rules the 5th house of children, and it's in the 4th house of happiness and home life and education. It's educated children. Jupiter's in very good condition in this chart. So he was blessed with 6 children. Now this Rahu's 5th aspect into the 5th house of children may have been the reason that he lost his daughter when she was, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 or something. His first daughter died of leukemia. This also gave him a very voracious, active, restless mind. And it was good for investments. He made a lot of money. Actually, see, this Saturn is in the 3rd house of self-initiatives, independent projects, entrepreneurial ventures, and he made a potload of money, became a millionaire by the time he was 40, through oil. Saturn is oil. And Saturn is in, this is Shani and Tula, Saturn in Libra, so it's ruled by Shukra, by Venus. Where's Venus? In the 11th house, income, gains, and friendships. So Jupiter's strong and well placed. This contributes to having some very successful children. One of his sons was the governor of Florida. Another was the governor of Texas, who went on to become the 43rd president of the United States. So in the 5th house, 9 sign Sagittarius or Danu, 6th house, 10 sign Capricorn, Makar, 7th house, 11 sign Aquarius, Akum. So Mongol and Ketu in Kum, Mars and Ketu. So this Mars in the 7th house of marriage does not create the dreaded Kuja dosha or Mangala dosha that some Jyotishis would say. When we use systems approach to Vedic astrology, a scientific paradigm to read charts, we have good results. So Mars rules as 9th house of divine grace, good luck, and good fortune. So how can it cause the dreaded Kuja dosha or Mangala dosha that some Jyotishis would assign, saying, oh, Mars in the 7th house is bad? So actually, Mars rules the 9th house trine and the 4th house of Kendra, so it actually becomes a Raj Yoga Karaka, kingly yoga. So if you think of his wife, she had a lot of courage. They often said that she wore the pants in the family, that she was very direct, very courageous, kept the whole family in line. It was good. He gave her a very strong wife. Ketu also brought spirituality into marriage. Ketu is Moksha Karaka, significator for spiritual advancement and enlightenment. Rahu, the planet of desires and ambition, aspects Mars. So by the time he was 18, he had left school and went to and joined the U.S. Navy, became the youngest pilot, youngest aviator in naval history up to that point, 18 years old. And he flew many bombing missions during World War II, the last of which his plane was shot down and 2 of his co-pilots were lost in that plane. He had to bail out and ended up in the sea for about 4 hours before a submarine picked him up. Meanwhile, the other planes were fighting off the attack. People were trying to attack him in the ocean. So what I'm getting at is that Mars is military. So this Rahu gave him desire for military activity. Mars rules the 9th house of Dharma, so it connected with military. Also, it's connected with executive organizing skills. When a planet's close to the rising sign degree, then its aspects are also applicable. So Mars throws an aspect 4 houses away, 7 houses away, and 8 houses away. So the 4th aspect into the 10th house of career makes him commander-in-chief. It's a military influence. Mars in the 1st house made him very courageous, very direct. He was, one of his famous sayings was, read my lips. You know, Mars aspects the 2nd house of speech. Read my lips. And it gave him wealth and status through his own father. His own father was in politics. I think he was a congressman. But this gives wealth and status through family life, also connected with father, and brings good fortune as well. Now, yes, Rahu and Ketu are also close to Mars, so that does cause highs and lows. So, but there was maybe some divine grace in this chart. Usually when you have a well-placed Jupiter and a well-placed Sun, it gives smooth evolution of the soul. So there was some divine grace, and plus it exalted Saturn didn't hurt, well-placed Venus, and a waxing moon. It's pulling away from the Sun, 5 houses from the Sun, 9 houses back. Sun and Moon have a 5-9 relationship. That's a trine relationship, which is very spiritual and very resourceful. Very resourceful heart and soul, and it also gave him a good mother and father. 8th house, 12th sign Pisces, 9th house, 1st sign Aries. So Mars rules this house of Dharma and Guru, religion, long-distance journeys, and divine grace. And it's in the house of marriage. The 4th aspect of Mars is actually within 4 degrees of Mercury, so that gave him a very logical, competitive, courageous mind. And it gave him wealth and status through military activities, and also through property, and also through executive organizing skills. 10th house, 2nd sign Taurus of Vrishab, Surya and Buddha in Vrishab, Sun and Mercury in Taurus. House of karma, career, professional life. So Sun makes him a leader. Mercury brings the 2nd house of wealth and status and family life into professional life. Makes him a messenger as well. This is a royal messenger, a king and a prince in the house of, you have 2 royal planets in the house of professional life. Very good with communications. Mercury is also close to the rising sign degree, so its 7th aspect also blesses the 7th house of marriage and family life. And, you know, he's really well known. Although he didn't write a lot of books, he wrote thousands and thousands of letters that were turned into books and are archived. He was really well known for his ability to write letters and to express himself. One of the most beautiful letters he wrote was to Bill Clinton, who took the presidency after he defeated George Herbert Walker Bush. And he left him a very kind letter, very inspiring letter. So Mercury also aspecting over here says he can do writing and literature and communications out of his home. And we come to the 11th house, 3rd sign Gemini or Matun. This is Shukra in Matun, Venus in Gemini. So this gives gains in income through the 3rd house of self-efforts and self-initiatives. This also gives gains through women, such as his wife. This gives gains from the fine arts, the performing arts, the healing arts. Very good Venus here, 24 degrees in Gemini. Planets that are 5 to 24 degrees are considered strong. So strong, 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 strong. In the 12th house, the 4th sign Cancer or Kark. So Chandra, Moon, rules the 12th house of foreign lands, and it's in the house of wealth and status. Before he was president or vice president, he was an ambassador, traveled many foreign lands. And then he was president, so he was also traveling to foreign lands and well known internationally. So these are some of the main points on his chart. Let's go to, this one here. Okay, so we could take a look at a few things here. So he's born in June 24, so he was born in a Mangal Mahadasha, Mars main period. I often refer to that as the root of the tree of life. So Mars, which is military, really the 9th house of good fortune, divine grace, and father, in the house of marriage and relationships, partnerships, and joint ventures. This is ruled by an exalted Saturn, ruled by a powerful Venus. The buck stops here. Mars is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is ruled by Venus. So, and this is a strong Venus. So that supports these two planets here. Moon is in Virgo, so it's ruled by Mercury. So Moon gets support by a strong Mercury. See, it's even Mercury's even outside the combust area of Sun. When Mercury's with Sun, and they're both benefic planets, functional benefic planets, it gives exponential growth of the mind. Now, Sun and Mercury are not in a Multracone sign, so they're not codependent on any other planets. And Jupiter is not in a Multracone sign, so it's not codependent on other planets. Of these 12 houses, from the first house around through to the 12th, only 9 are favorable. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Those are the favorable houses. 3 houses are not favorable in any chart. The 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house are called Dustan Bhavas, inauspicious houses. Planets going into those houses become weak. There's no planets in those houses, none. Now, planets ruling those houses can, in some cases, cause adverse effects, but that's only if that house contains a Multracone sign. The Multracone signs are 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, and 11. Aries for Mars, Cancer for Moon, Leo for the Sun, Virgo for the Mercury, Libra for the Venus, Sagittarius for the Jupiter, and Aquarius for the Saturn. Those are the Multracone signs. That takes precedence when you're reading charts. Absolutely takes precedence. And that's generally where people are working things out in life. So he's working things out relative to his reputation, his wealth, status, and family life, his self-initiatives, children and education, relationships, partnerships, joint ventures, father and religion, and foreign lands. That's where he worked things out in life. That's where his Multracone signs fall. So no Multracone sign in the 6th house and none in the 8th. So these two rulers don't cause trouble. But for all Leo rising signs, the 12th house contains the Multracone sign for Moon. Moon becomes the most malefic planet. And it causes lightweight, short-lived problems for Leos on a regular basis. But they're always short-lived. They're manageable. Now, if Moon was close to the rising sign degree, it would afflict this house and the house it aspects. But it's not. So we would say this is benign. This Moon is causing no trouble. Now, Rahu and Ketu do cause trouble. They are close to the rising sign degree. So their 5th, 7th, and 9th aspects cause trouble. And this 5th, 7th, and 9th aspect causes trouble. So it's not to say that there was not some dark cloud in his life where he was constantly doing battle with other people. I'm sure he had to fight to keep his reputation. There was highs and lows with this reputation. There was a fair number of political opponents and other people who didn't agree with him or his activities. There was trouble relative to his self-initiatives. Again, he lost one child. I'm sure there were some problems in relationships, partnerships, joint ventures, and maybe even in marriage that we didn't see. And there were some issues here with organized religion or long-distance journeys of short duration. He had a horrible time when he went to Japan. That was well documented. And it also probably caused some setbacks with income and friendships from time to time. So, but somehow he managed to take care of Rahu Ketu. Sometimes it's just some divine grace. And Jupiter and Sun are so well placed, that really helps a lot. So we could take a quick look at, let's see, 1989 to 1993. Well, first, let's see, before that he became the Vice President of the United States in 81. Let's go take a look and see what. By the way, we only take Mahadasha and Antardasha, main period and subperiods, when looking at the general trend of life and the current operating planets. Some Jyotishis will use 3 levels, 4 levels, or 5 levels deep in dashas, and they'll use several different dasha systems rather than just Vimshotari. But Professor Chowdhury used to say those Jyotishis are on a ring road in Delhi. They're going in circles, never arriving anywhere. We want to arrive somewhere. So we only go 2 levels deep. So let's take a look at about 1981, when he became the vice president. So we see that this took place during his 19 years of Shani, 19 years of Saturn. Exalted Saturn, ruling partnerships and joint ventures. You don't become vice president without a lot of partnerships and joint ventures. In the house of self-initiatives, ruled by Venus in the house of gains, income, and friendships. So that supported him, that 19 years of Saturn, not to mention he made millions in oil. So he started in, so that would have been January 81. So he actually got elected during the final subperiod, well, not the final subperiod, but during Rahu. Well, it gives charisma, fame, fortune, and ambition, if well placed. So then his presidency from 89 to 93 would have taken place during Mercury. Well, Mercury's in the house of professional life with the royal sun, which is the president or the king. Oh, 1948, he graduated from Yale. So he probably started in the Rahu. Maybe the Rahu Venus, or the, let's see, 4 years. So it would have been 44, I guess. Yeah, that would have been still Venus. Venus is connected with education in the house of gains. Probably graduated in the Mars subperiod. My experience with Rahu Mars, Mars is always the final subperiod of Rahu. And I always see it as characterized as massive change. Now, some people go up, some people go down, but it's change. So in this case, there was a change from attending Yale to going out into the world. Then he went into 16 years of Jupiter. It's good luck, good fortune, and children, and education. So these are the main points on his chart. See, health for Leo is ruled by the sun. He did have poor health, especially the last part of his life. He's actually been running this. He was running his 20 years of Venus. It started in 2007. And then Jupiter. But I think what happened here is we look at this Rahu Ketu. So they're at 3 degrees. The rising sign is 3 degrees. So recently, and when he died on November 30th, they were at 3 degrees. And this Rahu at 3 degrees has been afflicting Mercury for a while now. It will continue for another couple of weeks. And Mercury rules the second house of continuation of family life. But if you take this Rahu over here, it was afflicting this 12th house, end of life, 4th house, home life, 6th house, health, 8th house, death-like experience. And you take this K2, put it here, it was afflicting the 10th house of karma, 12th house, end of life, 2nd house of continuation of family life. So I think that's what happened at this particular time. Okay, these are the main points on the chart for George H.W. Bush. Politics aside, I think I have a lot of admiration for this man. He really worked hard his entire life, public service. He just, yes, he had a good father and a good family, and that's a good foundation in life. But he went on and got a good education. He had a lot of courage, did his military duty, became a millionaire, and then decided to work for the people. So, very powerful man. Okay, I hope this reading is helpful. Namah Shivaya.